Hello and thank you. So the title of our presentation is ACUTUS Virtualis, Printed Bodies, Virtual Worlds, Revisiting the Humani Corporis Fabrica of Andreas Vesalius in Virtual Reality. I'm Theodora, this is my colleague Zoe, and part of our presentation and subsequent paper has been co-developed in collaboration with Lectio, the KU Leuven Institute for the Study of the Transmission of Texts, Ideas and Images in Antiquity, the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. Our presentation focuses on the Humani Corporis Fabrica by Andreas Vesalius, which was first published in 1543 in Basel by Oporinus, who was both the printer and the publisher. This groundbreaking book marked a major advancement in medical history, not only for its scientific accuracy, but also for its artistic brilliance. Vesalius was born in Brussels in 1514 and was a pioneering physician who revolutionized the study of human anatomy through dissection, which was being performed very rarely at this time. He corrected numerous inaccuracies in Galenus's work and challenged traditional anatomical ideas by offering realistic depictions of the human body, supported by more than 300 detailed woodcut illustrations. The book also exemplifies Renaissance innovation, merging empirical observation with visual sophistication and the power of print. In 2024, the Flemish community and the University of Leuven acquired a remarkable copy of the second edition of the Fabrica, which is heavily annotated by Vesalius himself and was destined for a third edition, which was never realized, offering invaluable insight into his thought process. KU Leuven Libraries have digitized the entire work, making it freely accessible to researchers and the public. The libraries aim to present the book both digitally and physically through extensive expertise. This initiative will not only preserve a cornerstone of medical history, but will also pave the way for a museum specifically dedicated to Vesalius, which will open in 2026, centered around science, healthcare, and society. And you can find more information about that on this QR code. Here we have included a snippet about the digitization process from the official channel of the KU Leuven Libraries. I think I can redirect you here for the first few seconds. Great.
The Humani Corporis Fabrica is one of the most famous, most influential books on the anatomy of the human body ever. What Leuven has bought is not a first edition, but the second edition, into which Vesalius copied his corrections and improvements for a third edition that was never published.
Het is voor ons iets onvoorstelbaar geweest dat we dit werk konden verwerven. Er stond een schattingsprijs van 800.000 tot $1.200.000 op. Wat mij even deed slikken. Ik besefte de waarde van het boek meteen, maar dat zijn niet de bedragen waarvoor ik normaal boeken aankoop. Ik heb daar even over nagedacht en besloten om het toch aan de rector te laten weten, die besloten heeft om ermee voor.
For the sake of being on time, I will stop here. Okay. Do I? No? No. I will do it. Thank you. Okay, that's it. I will very briefly introduce the project within which we are developing this digital reinterpretation of the Fabrica, its impulse. The name stands for Immersive Digitisation, Upcycling Cultural Heritage towards New Reviving Strategies, and it is a project funded by Horizon Europe. It aims to revolutionize digitization methods and foster a more immersive, accessible, and interconnected environment for diverse audiences in the realms of education, arts, and cultural and creative sectors. And by using extended reality, it attempts to engage diverse audiences. It employs a collaborative approach, which includes a community of practice, several workshops, a final hackathon, and an acceleration and mentoring hub, connecting stakeholders for capacity building in immersive digitization. Yes. I will not go very deeply into detail about this. These are the main objectives of the project, which is articulated in 5 work packages. Each one is dedicated to one domain. So the first one is immersive storytelling and user experience research, within which Zoe is working. The technical developments and technological aspects, standardization processes and metadata. This is where I work at. Legal frameworks and communications. And from this point on, Zoe will talk to you about her domain.
So, hello, I'm Zoe. I want to talk to you a little bit about the role of DigitGlam in this project. It's an interdisciplinary research initiative at KU Leuven that brings together researchers from the humanities, the social sciences, but also the engineering faculties. And we focus on 3 axes: user engagement, digital curation, and the digital transformation. And as Theodora said, in the Impulse project, we work on storytelling and co-creation in immersive environments. And in this case, our test case is reactivating the Humani Corporis Fabrica in an immersive virtual reality, because we want to investigate how historical texts can be transformed into a dynamic interactive experience that can foster new modes of interpretation and also engagement across diverse audiences. So one of the tools of the project is a virtual reality platform that is being developed by our technical partners in Greece. But it is not a passive display, it's a social VR environment which supports multi-user interaction. So that means that users can explore text together, annotate collaboratively, remix content in real time. And in that sense, the platform becomes a hybrid space. It is a classroom, a studio, and an archive, but it is a place where historic material is not just consumed, but actively reinterpreted. Here you can see a screenshot of the platform in its early phase. And as we already mentioned, co-creation is central. We have organized the project or structured the project around the concept of participatory design with workshops in which we invite our target audiences to shape the development of the platform and our learning outcomes. So we've already completed 2 out of the 3 pre-hackathon workshops. And I am going to share some of the outcomes because they influence our recommendations, of course. Back in February in Leuven, the first workshop took place, and we had 4 teams working with archival materials, among which the scanned pages of the Fabrica, to prototype spatial storytelling. And their challenge was to translate this 2D content, which is quite static by nature, into immersive 3D narratives. And the results were very diverse. Some used techniques such as collage, layering, but others created walkable story environments. And here you can see a visual map that shows some outcomes of the proposals to navigate and interpret the data that they were given. Then a few weeks ago in Malta, the focus shifted to artistic research, which is more creative interpretation of the material available. And in one of the prototypes, Vesalius anatomical drawings were juxtaposed with minerals from the Jagiellonian University collection to create a dialogue between human and geological forms, where bodies began to resemble landscapes and vice versa. And again, this is more an aesthetic and conceptual connection across disciplines that can suggest new interpretive frameworks. So, together with Lexio, you can see the KU Leuven Institute for Study of Transmission of Text IDs and Images in Antiquity, Middle Ages and Renaissance. We have synthesized the insights from the workshops and also our discussions that were held between us into 2 categories. So in the first part, we have engagement and learning, and then we have platform text and materiality, which Theodora is going to tell a bit more about. But I will begin with engagement and learning because it highlights how immersive technologies can, in a creative and open way, foster interaction with these kinds of scans. And to illustrate what this can mean in practice, I would like to show you a series of examples that demonstrate the kinds of insights, interactions, and creative possibilities that can emerge from a single book when it is explored in immersive VR. And these are going to be starting points for future development within the project and serve as inspiration and recommendation for how these kinds of cultural heritage can be reimagined in a digital space. So the printed text of the Fabrica is multilingual. We have Latin, Greek, and Hebrew text. And in VR, this multilingualism can be foregrounded because it can allow users, for example, from different geographical contexts with linguistic backgrounds to collaborate at the same time on the annotations. In this sense, we also have, oh, this is the next one, sorry. We have the handwritten annotations and editorial marks, which Dries Nijs has written a very interesting article about. I recommend it, it's really nice, because he found how the editorial marks and handwritten notes reveal a process of revision and refinement. And again, he sees the marginalia as very expressive, not just technical, because it shows the author grappling with the material, having doubts, adjustments, hesitations, and we have planned to conduct a workshop with Neo-Latin students to translate these annotations so that they can become readable for broader audiences in the environment. Then, of course, what is my domain is the images, the landscapes. And the background of these images show, sorry, I lost my track. Okay, they show the landscapes that are visible behind the anatomical images. So here you can see forest, fields, and throughout the book even seasonal changes. And in an immersive digital space, these landscapes can be explored as part of the narrative. You can put them together, you can cut them up, you can see an actual horizon line. And that can enrich an interactive experience and an interpretive one. For example, we can also reconstruct the world in which Vesalius created the manuscript. So, for example, this is a Padova where he taught, so we can embed it in its urban and academic context. Another possibility is to use AI to generate 3D models, anatomical models from the woodcuts of Vesalius. And these models are very interactive. Users can rotate, zoom, even dissect them virtually. And they can teach us about early anatomical practices and bridge past and present practices in this field. But of course, we wanted to go beyond the more obvious audiences for this book. So we also, maybe this seems far-fetched, but for it can resonate, the visual language, it can be associated with Art Nouveau, for example, for designers, artists, architects. These connections can be made more explicit, and artists can be invited to engage with the material in a completely different way. Another aspect of social VR specifically is that it supports gamification. We can design quests based on annotations. We can give the users collaborative challenges, interactive storytelling, and that adds a playful dimension to the learning process, encouraging, again, exploration, experimentation in a different way. And the last example I want to bring is the very high-resolution digitization that was done at KU Leuven Libraries allows to study the woodcuts in great detail. So here you can see Vesalius himself on the front, on the first page. And the woodcuts can tell you, of course, about the anatomical knowledge of the time, but also about the craftsmanship of Renaissance printing. So in virtual reality, you can zoom into these details, appreciate the book, both as a scientific and an artistic achievement, learn about the techniques used, and beyond. So I'm going to give back to Theodora to focus on the platform and the text.
Yeah, I think I'll be just on time for the 5 last minutes. So I will move to the recommendations related to the textual and material aspects of the digital environment. The platform that we are developing is a rich, multifaceted environment where the printed text, handwritten annotations, and woodcut illustrations will coexist, and each will contribute to a different and layered understanding of medical anatomy. So in the context of immersive technology, the text itself can serve as one of the many entry points into virtual reality, inviting new ways of engaging with historical material. This will open up new possibilities for imagining the practice of reading in virtual environments, given the physical and ergonomical constraints that they pose. Yes, this is another example of the Fabrica, where the printed word annotations and woodcuts may be found on the same sheet. What we propose is a multimodal approach, which will showcase each aspect of the Fabrica within the platform. For example, by generating 3D models of the book in its entirety, including the cover and the binding. We will highlight its materiality in virtual environments. And in the digital interface that we propose, the text of Vesalius can itself play a central role and become a source of co-creation and interaction. So the platform may showcase examples of multilingualism in the text, just like Zoe mentioned, and allow users to view or contribute to annotations in multiple languages beyond the ones found in the Fabrica, or revisit the ones already existing there. Yes, this is one last slide in case you were interested in the project or would like to provide us with any feedback or stay up to date with the workshops or the reports and papers that we published. You are more than welcome to join the community of practice. Thank you.